manager team lead. So he is on the relationship manager side, and he leads a team here as well. And then Chris Patterson is a senior treasury solution consultant here at the bank. And so he will be doing most of the presenting, and I will turn over to him shortly. But thank you again. And we look forward to presenting here today and love questions. So feel free to put them in the chat. So we'll start today. We're going to present the payables landscape. And so we're going to go through trends in manufacturing quickly, fraud landscape, payables, and taking control. So I think you'll get a lot out of this, a lot of great information and what is happening today within the payables landscape. Trends in manufacturing, just a quick touch point here on that is what we wanted to share. Looking at some of the surveys by Deloitte, people are really looking at smart manufacturing initiatives within the space. And so really what we're doing is highlighting the need for treasury solutions that's going to support these initiatives. So a lot of digital transformation, a lot of innovation, you're managing operational risks, optimizing working capital. So really, focusing on these areas that we see that are trending within manufacturing and focusing on the solutions that are available to companies out there today that really show where you can go. I know we're all doing more with less, right? So kind of the way of the world. So what is out there, what is available, what solutions are around, especially with AI and all of the new technical savvy initiatives going on. So this just gives some great information about just really where we see folks in manufacturing going. So I am going to turn it over now to Chris Patterson to go through the fraud landscape.
Thank you. If you want to go to the next slide too for me as well, I appreciate it. And really what I wanted to do was just lay the landscape for what we're seeing out there from a fraud perspective. So if you see in the lower left-hand corner, we have actually seen an uptick in business email compromise, and there's a new nuance to that too as well. Business email compromise in the past, we sort of always have had the education around it being a fraudster is looking at an email account, spoofing emails with CO versus a .com, those kind of things as well. But we're seeing a little bit more out there today in the business email compromise, where there's actually even more of rampant malware out there where individuals are clicking that malware is being actually installed into vendors' infrastructures. And then what you end up seeing is the vendors that you're doing business with, their emails are actually compromised themselves. So when an executive leaves, that's usually when the fraud sort of attempts, when they come in and put some kind of urgency around it, saying, hey, you have to send this wire. We have to close this by year end. We have to close this now. So they put that sort of stress and urgency inside the accounts payable department. So they sort of push that out. So we have seen a rampant uptake in that. So I always try to forewarn clients around that. And it's even more rampant nowadays too with AI. Right now with deep fakes, you really don't know who's an actual person or who is actually taking a voiceover and doing an AI interaction too as well. So really just keep that out there. We'll talk a little bit more in the presentation, but always just make sure you have a business policy and procedure that if someone does ask to go electronify or change an account or change any kind of detail in your vendor master, that you have a security blanket behind the scenes where you have a Rolodex where you call them or some kind of outside from what you received in the email. So that way you can protect yourself. We've also seen an increase in just overall fraud as well, being rampant out in the marketplace too, whether it's capturing of checks that's always been out there, pay altercations, but really along with business email compromise and things of those nature. What we're also seeing out there is the stress of companies needing to do more with less, as sort of earlier in the presentation, where we're now trying to maximize all the capital expenditures that you've done at the organization. If you sort of see the landscape out in the marketplace, you had some organizations that sort of held tight on their capital expenditure for any kind of ERP system or any kind of purchase order system, anything like that. They were waiting for market conditions to happen. And then why they were waiting, you also had a couple different payment types. So all of that new inertia and the need to get technology has made fraud more rampant, and just need to have a little bit more security and a little bit more sound business plan when you're putting those new policies and procedures in place, but also your new solutions too as well. And then lastly, I hate to say it, but checks, they're always there. They're always attempted fraud. So always make sure to not write them. That's what we're here to do. You do have to write checks every now and then because it is legal tender, but the least amount that you can write is the most advantageous from clients that we do business with. So we always try and stress that to just remove checks because you have a lot of metadata on that check. And sorry, Antoinette, if you want to go to the next slide. So to sanitize a little bit, because we are Fifth Third, but we do want to normalize it for more education for everyone. Luckily, banks have solutions for that. So if you are worried about any kind of EFTs is electronic funds transfer, that's wires, ACH, real-time payments, Zells, those kind of things. You can put a positive pay protection on that account. They have it for ACHs, they have it for checks. If you have a payables account, I always recommend that. The other solutions that we have out there in the industry are check blocks. I typically recommend those for collection only accounts. I also really recommend working with clients to do account rationalizations. Do you really need 10 accounts? Could you do more with 2 or 3 accounts and just leverage the technology like your general ledger or other things like virtual reference numbers? There's just some solutions out there that are applicable that can maybe help you reduce those accounts, because those accounts are also security risk as well. And then just reconcile your account. Sort of comes down to that checkbook mentality. I have a checkbook and I write it. I know that's sort of a thing of the past, but in business, if you can reconcile your books weekly, ideally daily, you're going to control that fraud 100%. You're going to see something happens and be able to enable a fast acting solution fast to get those money back than waiting a month or two if you were to reconcile on a statement. So we sort of always say reconcile quickly, fastly, see what's going out there, and then have some of those as well. Authorized representatives, outsourcing, those kind of things. Go to the next slide, Antonio. All right. So now that I sort of put the picture of fraud and it's out there, and you should have tools and repertoires at your fingertips to sort of protect that. Now I'm going to say, what are we seeing out there in the landscape of payables as a whole? And what we're seeing here is 25% of all the businesses out there that we talk to in our footprint are asking to be more automated. So here we have 25% that say they're there. That's great. That means there's 75% of clients out there, businesses out there, that they need that help, they need that support. And we'll talk a little bit about what are some of those solutions, what are things that you should think about or talk about with your financial partner or your fintech solution to give you those solutions as well. Second thing that we're seeing out there is visibility is imperative. It was more imperative before, or actually it was less imperative before tariffs, but now that tariffs are around and they're sort of inking into the margins, it's even more important to be able to look at those forecastings. What's your cash flow? Can you extend that cash flow out? Maybe increase your accounts payable days on hand further to make your EBITDA look better on the balance sheet. So that's changed in the past 2 years when Fed funds were basically providing nothing and you didn't have to worry about what interest you were making. But now the interest rates are around, 200 to 400%. Or 200 to 400 basis points, that's really where it's advantageous to use that working capital, use those solutions to maximize the return that you have. And then lastly, more than organizations still cut checks. They're always trying to alleviate that. That's a heavy cost burden on the organization. So anything that we can do to help that would, one, alleviate the fraud, but then also alleviate the operational impact that it has with your organizations. Next slide. So really what you want is you want to partner in this venture. We've been doing this for a long time. Really hated 10 years ago when you were talking with a client, and the client says, "Hey, I'd love to do ACH. How do I do that?" And a bank saying, "Well, here's card, here's rebate, here's rebate." Make sure you have a partner that listens to you, that says, "Okay, are they taking the steps to help me get to where I need to go? And do they have that synergy and that time frame with me as well? And are their strategic priorities the same as me?" Meaning, is it just the next solution, or is it, hey, this is what you should do and we don't have that, but this does? So it's really creating the best overall solution for your organizations, and a strong partner would do that with you. Next slide. All right. And then here are some of the things that we see that are the challenges in the marketplace. So, one, technology has changed greatly within the last 3 to 5 years. 3 to 5 years, API was more just on an iPhone. Now it's basically ingrained in anything that you do, whether it is doing an expense report and you're tracking the mileage of an employee and it's pulling an API from Google to do that, or we're leveraging other things with cloud-based technologies and things like that. So being able to have a financial partner or a fintech that has the longevity and has your growth in mind is very important for you. So that way you can make sure that as you grow as an organization, they're there to grow with you and you don't outgrow them from that standpoint. Second thing that we're seeing is quality of labor. Amazon, TikTok, it's really made it hard to get staff to come in to want to key invoices. They think there's an AI, they think there's an app for that. They don't understand the value behind it. So it's really hard for companies out there to attract quality staff and retain that staff to do the functions that they've always done in the past. So that's where leveraging technology, but then also choosing outside maybe different unorthodox ways of employment, some work from home, some hybrid things like that, has been able to allow organizations to expand their talent pool, to pull in the resources that they need where they were geographically locked, depending on where you were with Amazon and those kind of things as well. Cybersecurity is always on the forefront as well. So always make sure that whoever you're doing business with, you have that security blanket behind the scenes from denial service attacks or any kind of malware attacks, those kind of things. But that's really the heightened thing that we're seeing in the marketplace that is prohibiting clients from moving forward in economic times. Next slide. So now we sort of talked about fraud. What's the fraud landscape? And you should have some solutions and policies and procedures in place. We talked about what we're seeing out there, what sort of the trends are going, and what we're seeing out there from a solution standpoint. Now it's more redirecting to yourself. Where are you at in your, life cycle? Are you very highly paper on the invoice side, but you have ACHs and zero checks on the outbound? Then maybe an invoice solution where you can capture data off of an invoice and attach workflow. And that might be the most solution for you because you're removing paper, you're given efficiencies. Maybe you already have a purchase order, or not a purchase order, but an invoicing system, but you want to go to purchase order so that way you control your spending, be a little bit more balanced off your balance sheet when you're doing those growth or expansions. What's advantageous for that? Is that getting reporting, detailed reporting? Is that on the cash? So really it's where are you at, and talking with your financial partner or your fintech partner to make sure where you are and map a solution where it is. But no matter where you are, though, there are banks and financial institutions that have solutions for you. Just really understanding where you are in that process. Is it you want to remove checks 100% and you want to outsource that and make it easy so you can make, the widgets that you make? We have an easy button. If it's working capital, you want to maximize that, you want to sort of make your accounts payable days on hand, we have a solution for that. So really, it's understanding your strategic priorities, implementing a solution, crawl, walk, run together with that partner. Next slide. And then some of the highlights that we sort of talked here, I sort of jump around a little bit in my presentations, but is it optimizing working capital? Is it, hey, I need to get that invoice in, need to see if I can early pay discount, or is it better that I pay 45 days out and get a rebate attached to it? Or is it better that maybe that strategic vendor work to maybe get 60 days and do an ACH direct, those kind of things. So it's having the wherewithal to look at your vendor segmentation population to find out where that nirvana is for you and your team. Is it removing paper from the process? Honestly, this is the one thing that sort of intrigues me a little bit is from a financial institution, we have lock boxes where we can take the checks, automate, digitize, deposit automatically. We can completely remove the checks and outsource payables from that side. But then we have all this paper on the front end from the invoices and expense reports. So is removing that and getting automation there and visibility into that important to you versus the others? That's where it really needs to take time to, is it saving time on processes? Is it removing paper? Is it getting more excess funds with that excess time? Is it reducing fraud? All of those should be strategic questions that you ask when you take control of your payment continuum. Next slide. And then here's some food for thought. So most financial institutions have this, some do not, some are unique. So you do have to sort of do your due diligence. But out there, we have checks that you can outsource, we have ACHs. Honestly, the biggest thing that I'm seeing out there is real-time payments and Zelle payments from that perspective, because that's changing banking as a whole. Typically, it was batch. You just wait end of day, you send things. Now that's real-time payment. It's 24/7, 7 days a week. So I think that changes a little bit from a liquidity and reporting standpoint. And also, it's not the right payment for everything. It's sort of the right tool for the right job kind of a standpoint. Real-time payments might be a sledgehammer for the job when you really need a ballpoint hammer for doing sort of vendor pays and things like that. So it's working with that financial partner to find out what is the right solution from there. But most banks or financial institutions will offer check outsourcing so that way you can alleviate that pain point of printing checks, stuffing them in house, vendors calling you that they didn't receive it because it was stuck in the post mail, those kind of things as well. APIs, supplier invoices, fraud prevention, all of these tools you should be looking for in your financial partner and your bank to make sure that they have those. And if they don't, ask around and get into partnership with someone that does. It's also always good to diversify too the banking relationships. Next slide. And then what that means to you with those solutions is if you have an invoicing solution, how does that change your day in the life of? Well, that helps you not getting those invoices emailed to you. That helps those invoices not being sent to a local office and then you have an emergency check request because someone sat on that invoice for 2 weeks and now it's late. You have to sort of push it through and jump through hoops. Having an invoicing solution from a fintech or from a banking partner will actually help you expedite that, but then also get clean information. Other things it can do is a lot of them have purchase order capabilities where you can create purchase orders. So that way you can sort of control maverick spending, get a little bit better on your budgeting and project planning from overall growth for the business. So those are all good value jobs to be had, where today someone at the organization is extracting that from an envelope and keying it into an accounting system, or it's coming into an email, they're parsing it out. So someone's touching it. There's a system that can automate that, streamline that, and go right into your ERP. You can already see the value right there. Another solution that value add for our clients with those kind of solutions too is just receiving. So if there's, if you were doing POs for two-way matching, but you need that delivery slip or that bill of ladle, solutions can support that too. So if you weren't able to have the infrastructure or pay for a fancy Concur SAP expensive, solution, there are many others mid downstream that have all that functionality that will give you that integration and give you that visibility and give you those functionalities that are right there at your fingertips. And then manage open payables. If you outsource the payables, you don't have to house bank account information or ERP. You don't have to house check stock. So it sort of automates your day in a life of, because at the end of the day, banking should be left to the banks. It's what we do. We sort of get excited reaching about NACHA rules and real-time payment rules and ISO. God help you guys do that. You have enough going on in manufacturing. So pick a preferred partner that can really help you explain these, educate you, help you choose what's right for you and your organization now and for the future. And then you'll see all the value add where you're going to be able to just do your business as usual and let us do the financial transactions behind the scenes and give you reporting. Next slide. And then lastly, this is a little bit unique for us, but it is open for everyone else. But we always recommend choose a single provider if possible. And what I mean by that is we're a little bit unique where our third party relationships are directly with us. Some financial institutions have that, some do not. But I always like the one throat to choke at Christmas Eve. It is something breaks, and if you're in charge of it Christmas Eve, you have to pull that Rolodex and call three different vendors. Good luck. I'd much rather pick up the phone, call Nick, and say, Nick, something's going on. Can you correct it? And Fifth Third jumps on the bandwagon to support you, help you through that, get all those points of contact in place to make sure that that service is nirvana for you in that. So we sort of like it from that. But overall, try to really know who you're doing business with. Make sure the customer experience is exactly how you want it to be. We try to model that from a Fifth Third perspective, that if you do business with one of our vendors, it's exactly like doing business with us, and make sure when you're doing your due diligence, those individuals do that for you. But then being able to have those solutions allow you to be able to build that foundation. So as you start to grow, you can run lean. It'll help you with your source to get quality labor. It'll help you with getting financial reporting in. It'll help you with accruals. It will just change your day in a life of. So that way you don't have to worry about, did I send ACH or payroll today, or did I write that check for that vendor? It should be, did that shipment go out to our most important client, and is everything okay? And do I have to worry about freight to make sure it gets there on time? Versus I have to upload a positive pay file because we cut some checks. And I believe that is that. So with that, like next slide is Q&A.
Great, and this is Nick. Thanks, Chris. And one thing that I'll add is, from our client base, we have clients that are at all different spectrums of their payable cycle. So some clients are still writing all checks. Some are trying to move to ACH. So I think whether whatever stage you're at, right, having that discussion with your banking partner is important to know how do you move to be more efficient. So I'll add that, and then I guess we can open up with any Q&A.
I am not seeing any questions in the chat, but if you do have a question, feel free to unmute yourself to ask the question, or you can type it in the chat and we will read it off for you. Again, I just want to say thank you so much to Chris, Antoinette, and Nick for their time in putting this presentation together, for talking with us this morning. If there are no questions, I will go ahead and wrap up the webinar. Again, if you have future questions, there is information here to reach out to these individuals directly. We will be sending this presentation out so that you can contact them if you have further questions. You can always reach out to TMA and we can connect you as well. I hope you all have a wonderful morning. Stay safe in the snow that might be coming later today, and have a wonderful holiday season. And thank you again to Fifth Third. You guys are wonderful, and I appreciate you providing this insight today.
And
Thank you
thank
so
you to the
much for the
Thank you.
opportunity.
Thank you to the TMA for having the opportunity. And like you said, if anybody has any questions, whether they're watching this live or recording, please feel free to reach out to any of us. Really appreciate it.
Thanks so much.
Take care.